that there's nothing immoral about white identity politics. And I think that's the great inhibition that a lot of people have. It's the great hurdle that a lot of people have. On some level, they think it's immoral. And that's what keeps us in this game that we can only lose. And it's a very white thing to lose because of morality. And people feel very good about it. Unfortunately, there are a lot of people depending on us. The very future of our race and the future of life on Earth depends on us. And we can't be graceful losers, especially if we don't have to be, if we're basically losing because of self-imposed limitations. And the great self-imposed limitation is the idea that it's somehow per se immoral to take your own side in an ethnic conflict. There's nothing wrong with that. First and foremost, we have to defend the idea that it's legitimate to have partialities, preferences to people who are close to you. And biological science shows that indeed people are attached to and feel kinship with others to the extent that they share the same genes. And the people who have the greatest harmony between them are identical twins. Basically, the people who have exactly the same genes. They know one another's minds. There are fewer conflicts between identical twins than there are between fraternal twins or just ordinary brothers and sisters or parents and children, and so on and so forth. And so if the great problem of society is in part how to create a world where people can peacefully interact with one another, where people can feel at home, where people can feel like they understand the world around them, then one of the great things that we need to do is preserve genetic closeness, preserve kinship, have a society where people are on average related to one another like fourth cousins. Those turn out to be the happiest societies when people are basically one very large family. And that requires that we preserve these societies and try and restore these societies where they've been harmed, where they've been destroyed. So that is an important thing. If you were a father, well, imagine if you're a child and your father at the dinner table one night says, "You know, JF, you are my son, but the boy next door is getting better grades. And I've decided to give your college fund to him because meritocracy, right? He's more deserving." You would have this horrible, uncomfortable feeling that your father is a moral monster. And you would also feel, oh my God, I got half my genes from this guy. How am I going to turn out? We all would recognize that parents who betray their children based on some kind of one-dimensional meritocratic fixation or some other moral fixation, parents who decide, I'm going to instead of sending you to college, I'm going to donate 1/8 of my income to the Communist Party. You think, oh my God, that's a monstrous decision to make. It's perfectly legitimate and natural to take care of your own first. A lot of people say, well, I mean, that's selfish and it's not universalizable. One criterion that people have for morality is, can this rule be applied universally? And absolutely it can, yeah. You can want to live under a society where everybody takes care of their own first. And there's no contradiction to that whatsoever. There's nothing ununiversalizable about the idea of people having preferences for their own. In fact, that's really the best way that you can make sure that everybody's is taken care of, because first you put it in the hands of the people who care. And then if you're an orphan, right, or whatever, if you lost your family, if there's nobody who's your own to take care of you, then you're an outlier, and you've got things like the welfare state to take care of you. But there's no reason why you can't have as a universal principle that everybody takes care of their own first. And if you apply that to politics, that's nationalism right then and there.
Absolutely.
There are other, yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah. So there are other moral criteria that people bring out. They say, well, what about self-actualization? Well, the way I look at ethno-nationalism, it's a kind of politics of self-actualization. It's a way of creating a society that expresses the unique natures of different races and ethnic groups. So it's a way that the society they live in expresses in their architecture, in their public square, in their public festivals, who they are. And that's impossible in multicultural societies. And there are other criteria. Fairness. It's not unfair to have a homeland of your own as long as you allow other peoples to have their own homelands as well. But it's totally unfair to have multiculturalism the way it is today, where white people and only white people are expected to lose their homelands, but none of the other groups on the planet are expected to lose theirs. That's totally unfair. And we can go on. Yeah, so I think we need to get over this idea that somehow it's immoral for whites to take their own side and engage in white identity politics. It's moral, it's necessary if we're going to survive, and it's inevitable because we will survive.